Hello, hello. We've got the new chapter of One Piece. This is 1145. Starting off with a very unique, very different than any other color spread we've ever seen. With the Straw Hat Gang all hanging out watching Luffy go Gear 5 on TV. I don't know if there's like a particular reason this is happening right now. Like, is this synced up with something happening in the anime? I know the anime is like kind of going through Egghead right now, which certainly does have some Gear 5 action, but it's not like, oh, this is the first time Gear 5 was shown or something. That was years ago. I think there was a new OP, so switching the OP is like a signifier, but that happens fairly often, like I think at least once a year, and they've never done this sort of anime-centric color spread. I don't know. It is mysterious. Maybe somebody who follows the anime more can tell me if there's any reason for this. Not that there really needs to be. It's just kind of a cute idea. I love Luffy pointing to himself as well. As we were talking about last time, I just love that all the Straw Hats really do seem to be doing what they ought to be doing in these color spreads. Like, it just really shows how much Oda really thinks about these characters as people, as humans that are going to have personalities that react in certain ways in different situations. It all feels very fleshed out. It's kind of interesting too, like, they throw some Den Mushis around the room to kind of be like, yeah, it's One Piece. You can do anything with a snail. But there's other stuff here, like what looks obviously like a VCR and this digital alarm clock, feel very out of place in One Piece. In the back, I see like a radio. Just things that we haven't really encountered, maybe like in Vegapunk's lair. He'd have some tech like this. And then just also this coloring, like showing the light reflecting on them. It's very digital. It's very like, they look like they're anime forms, They don't look like Oda drawings as much as anime stuff. And I see at the bottom that it's not just copyrighted to Oda, but also Fuji TV and Toei. So I don't know. Yeah, this all means something, but I don't know what. But let's get into the chapter proper, which also has a cover page. So this is very, very atypical from a color spread. I think it may be not a color spread at all in the means that we traditionally mean it. Like maybe Oda didn't even draw that. I think that might have been the anime team put that together. Because yeah, we still have a cover page as well. That didn't replace the cover page as color spreads typically do. So this chapter title is Wildfire in Forest Sector 2 Branch Route 8, which is one of like 18 things going wrong in Elbaf right now. We're kind of in the mass chaos phase of an arc. We got there quicker than I thought we would. But, that's kind of like the opening salvo of tension in a lot of One Piece arcs is like 18 things are going wrong. All of our heroes are scrambling around to different places trying to solve everything. And it's still going to be a little bit before the big cathartic moment where they realize what must be done and kind of align themselves. On the cover page, we see Alti cradling her beloved Pei as Yamato respectfully turns away, letting her weep and feel relief and joy and whatever. Sure. This is still the aftermath of cleaning up this Onigashima resurrection gang or whatever the hell they were. We're still waiting for Yamato to set out to the sea so we can see him somewhere else. Okay. So here we see, this is down at the bottom world, while they're treating Loki. Various creatures of this lower realm of Elbaf are attacking them. I think probably because they're defending Loki. They're all Loki's homies. Speaking of homies, too, Nash, who is the shipwright, I think, in the new Giant Pirates, seems to have a shield that he stole from Big Mom that has been animated using Big Mom's homie fruit, the Soul fruit, or whatever it's called. I like that it gets a little moment in the spotlight here. It's unclear exactly what it is. Because it's not just a shield that's alive, it's a shield that can, like, grow and stretch and stuff and is also alive. I like also this, whoops. Hold. Are we good? Oh my god. Alright. Maybe on your end, it seemed like nothing happened, but on my end, because I had turned the TV off a second ago, the computer takes a second to realize that one of the screens is missing, and reorient all of the windows that were on the TV back to the monitors, and it causes a little bit of chaos. Anyways, yeah. Pretty cool little fight scene here. I like that the long-necked dinosaurs, who in real life obviously were all herbivores, there are like ferocious, big, sharp teeth versions in One Piece. And here, without any real ceremony, without making a big deal out of it, Sanji and Zoro do their little combo attack thing, which we haven't seen in a bit. It's nice. That's nice. I don't know how Loki's gonna feel about them just slaughtering what may be one of his friends. This looks like good eating. Huge even compared to giants. Groggysaurus is considered a delicacy. Takes a while to carve off all the fat, but it's great when stewed in alcohol. Right. That shield came to life like that way back years ago when my dad went on the expedition to vanquish Big Mom. So he's like, Zeus. You guys know Mr. Zeus. He's one of the most exalted homies. He's a man service to our navigator. Yeah, this is fun. You know, I'm sure the connection with Big Mom and this whole Elbaf child trade thing is going to become a more major note in the flashback, which is coming up, I'm sure. But Oda is very good about this, that when he's going to bring back a plot point like that, there's a little bit of, like, foreshadowing and kind of reminders, like, showing you some of the connection so that later you're locked in, you're remembering that part of the story too. Okay. The Holy Knights showed up here. Humans from the world government. That's who beat you this badly. So will he tell them the real reason? If I'd gotten far enough to run into them when I was out there, I'd be king of the world by now. Luffy perks up hearing about Knights from the world government. He's hanging out on Loki's shoe, it looks like. So Hadrian clearly didn't attack him. It seemed like a classic One Piece. While the axe is swinging down, we have the flashback, and then our perceptions of exactly what we want to see happen completely reverse. But nah. Alright, they came back from hunting. I delivered the killing blow. So it was so great. Graceful soaring broccoli. Oh, this is cool. They're like, in helping resurrect Loki and nursing him back to health, they're doing this little ad hoc hunting and cooking situation. I like this because it feels like a little slice of giant life that we wouldn't have seen otherwise. The giants, you know, go on these long hunting trips. We saw the new giant pirates coming back from one at the start of this arc, and it's like we didn't really get to see the actual hunting part, and now we get a little taste of what that lifestyle is like, and the camaraderie behind it, and the joy of getting some really delicious meat. Looking better already. That's right. This is fun. Some good banter and shenanigans with Luffy. At this point, I don't think it's a question that Loki is actually, on some level, a good guy. Um, I think Oda's not trying to make that such a shocking twist anymore. Which again makes me think there is some sort of other X factor at play here. Some secret about Elbaf that Loki knows. It might just be that Harold was a scumbag and was facilitating this selling of children to the Navy. But it may also be something else, some secret that they need to protect. I still feel like there is a big mystery lurking with Elbaf that I think will kind of serve as like a second act to this arc. Like, I don't think in the end it's just going to be about fighting these holy knights. There's going to be something more intrinsic to Elbaf going on. Again, there's that whole third layer up there. We don't really know what's happening up there. I don't think it's just clouds. I don't think it's just nothing. I think there's some sort of giant Valhalla. I don't know. Let's see. There's more burns than before. What did this guy do to make all the giants hate him so much? Lying when he made that promise with Luffy. Where to find red hair now? Sorry, but I wasn't lying about that. He's still negotiating. So he says he knows where Shanks is. Okay, so we think, we being me, but I think it's like, maybe it was outright said, I'm sorry, I can't remember, but I at least for a while was speculating as well, that Shanks was the one that originally quelled Loki's rampage and chained him up. Because Loki seems to be strong as hell. Very few people out there probably are capable of doing that. Shanks is one of them. Now, Shanks, though, is definitely a very sympathetic character, a very wise character. Not somebody who would not hear out Loki, and Loki's like, hey man, I know this looks bad, but King Harold, he was a real piece of shit. So it could be even that Shanks and Loki came to an agreement where it's like, look man, I know you don't deserve this, but not like, oh, we're gonna cooperate, but like when Shanks subdued him, he's like, okay, this is necessary for the sake of giant society. You can't just continue rampaging, and they need someone to blame, and Loki begrudgingly kind of makes this like self-sacrifice, and Shanks is like, but look, I'll come and get you back out or something. I don't know. The more I try to explain this, I'm not quite sure. But basically, I feel like maybe Shanks left some channel of communication open between him and Loki. He gave Loki a Vivre card or something like that. We'll see. Want to meet red hair that badly, huh? I suppose I understand how it feels to idolize a pirate you met when you were just a lad. Ooh. And it pains me that I was only a boy at the time. So Loki also, this is a very common theme, of course. We've seen it with Luffy himself, with Odin, sort of, with Yamato in his own way, of this like fateful encounter with a pirate in youth that feel like you're destined to live your entire life out on this one island, and then boom, it's like lightning hits you and you realize there's a whole world and ocean out there. Now, who is Loki talking to? Who is this silhouette? The fact that they're shown entirely in silhouette, I think means we're not going to be told. But maybe this is the legendary pirate Rox D. Zebek. I think that would be interesting. Haven't done too much with him yet. This could be an integration of him into the plot. Stop making me repeat myself. Fight me then. Yeah. I think this is Zebek. So Loki gets his ass beat by this dude. And yeah, Whitebeard, of course, not the captain of the Rocks Pirates, subordinate to Zebek, here is complaining to Zebek. I was born in the wrong era. See, this is very, very interesting. Like, just from a character study perspective, the contrast between Loki, who's, obviously a lot older than Luffy, and was a kid during the previous era, or really kind of the previous era, because the Zebek pirates predate the Roger pirates and stuff too, and laments the fact that he feels like the peak of the era of piracy, that he wasn't able to join the greatest pirate crew, maybe outside the Roger pirates, the Zebek pirates. He really laments that, and he's like, I missed my destiny. Luffy has never had a thought like that in his entire goddamn life. He knows that he wasn't able to ride on the Pirate King's ship. He doesn't care. He's gonna be the king of pirates. He's probably not even really aware of all these other great eras of legendary pirates before Roger. What does that matter to him, though? He was never like, ooh, I wish I could be a pirate of Whitebeard, like Ace was. All of these other guys kind of idolize a generation before them. Luffy kind of idolizes Shanks to some extent. He did ask to be on Shanks's crew, but he doesn't, like, lament that. He just immediately was like, well, I'm gonna start my own crew then. I don't know, yeah. It's interesting, Alright. How many Ghosts 2, just like the things kids would be afraid of. They're figuring this out themselves. Is that meant to be Loki? Alright, here we get to see Mr. Ya, Scopper Gaban, in action. It looks like we're done with this Loki character study aspect of this chapter. Fair enough. There's a lot to cover. But again, just kind of more seeds to plant for this inevitable flashback. Maybe we will see Rocks D. Zebek in full form there. Not just silhouette, I mean. But actually get to see that part of the story. I love this. Just slaughtering these guys. Good thing these are based on a child's imagination. Would they be stronger if the kids know the real thing? I like it. There are more of them now. 3. A trio of abnormal voices. They can try to hide, but I still feel them. Even Elbaf isn't safe anymore, then it's truly the end of days. Very, very powerful hockey, obviously. I like that they don't do this too often, though. This becomes, a very major component of a lot of shonen series. And really, it's often used as just plot convenience. How did, Frieza know that Goku was over there? Sensed him. Key sensing. Bleach had a lot of it, I think. How the frick did they know exactly where to go to run into the bad guys? Well, they sensed them. And I think it's fine, and it's not like I would prefer to have a chapter of, like, well, let's ask around if they've seen anybody, or, like, let's just fly aimlessly until we see someone. But, like a lot of other things, the ability to teleport, the ability to fly, it's like you cut out parts of the plot that wouldn't be interesting, but then you sacrifice the ability to have an explanation that is interesting. And so, yeah, I'm glad that One Piece doesn't do this all the time. Here it makes sense because Elbaf is massive, and it really is unrealistic for them to track them down through any other means that aren't kind of contrived and tedious to explain. But most of the time it's like characters, they just write the characters such that they want to meet, which I think is a lot more exciting. That there's not a lot of conflict where it's like, we did our evil deeds and now we're just gonna, like, hide. But rather, the entire writing of the plot arc up until then is that they need to confront the good guys, that they're there's a fated encounter awaiting, which I just think is a lot more exciting and a lot more dynamic than one character being motivated to just skip town, you know? Anyways, yeah, that's a whole tangent. Here we see the firefighting team. The flames are simply massive. Good luck. Pick it up a little. The kids are about to reach the flames. Strongest steam we've got. Put out the fire. This is an intense moment here. I'm not really sure. I feel like the Holy Knights in their... It's like they're so privileged and they're so kind of beyond reprocation or duty or anything, morality in general. All they have is this weird kind of like inner competition and this sort of like bored intrigue, you know. What's his face there was like lazing around in his underwear when he got called over. And I think here too, there's an obvious question. Hey, you guys are supposed to be kidnapping these kids to use as leverage against Elbaf. What? Why are you gonna burn them all to death? Isn't that stupid? Their charred corpses aren't gonna do a whole lot. I don't know, maybe for the honor of them it would, but I don't think they're thinking like that. I think they like literally just kind of didn't really care about the mission they were assigned, and they've just turned it into something for their own amusement. And they just think, you know, they have this sadistic curiosity about whether or not the giants can save the kids from the flames, or how does Killingham's power interact with just burning to death. Like they really are just doing this for their own amusement and their own whims. They don't really seem to care about this greater plot of negotiating Elbaf into subservience. They'll wake up from the heat, wail and cry for their parents, and be consumed by flames and burned to bones, I assume. How about that? Now that's emotion. Oh shit, here we go! Jinbei! That's our boy! This is cool too, because this is the first time we've seen him use sea clouds in the same way that he can use the sea. Dude, you remember the first time he does this? Way back in Impel Down? When he just grabs the heart of the water and throws the water? I was pogging, dude. I thought that was so cool. Like, Jinbei is he's just so cool. Alright. Nice. Jinbei manages to quash the fire. Been put out, and all the kids are safe. The children weren't harmed by the flames, but they're still marching onward. The firefighters are praised erroneously, but that's fine. Jinbei must be nearby. Hell yeah. All the kids at school hate me, but I think of them as my friends. Let's go, Colin. Whoa! So then, we've got our first big actual showdown between a Holy Knight and some good guys. Poor Loki, that didn't really count. He just got his ass kicked. The guards just got their ass kicked. Here's one that I hope is not just a wash. I mean, it's 3 of the weakest Straw Hats, let's be real. But Jinbei's pretty strong. And Colin is a liability, but I don't know. I'm very curious how this will go. Again, it's just this real chaotic mess right now on Elbaf. I think this isn't going to be a easy victory for either side, and it's probably just going to end in kind of like a mutual retreat. But I think, yeah, I'm really excited about how this is unfolding. I think this general sense of like chaos everywhere is being conveyed very nicely. And this is something I praise One Piece about a lot, that I think during Wano especially, Oda started to stray from. I think he kind of bit off more than he could chew, is the sense of like physicality and actual space in these kind of very chaotic times. Because like the country of Wayno was just so huge, stuff was just kind of happening in various spots, and then they would like travel to see each other. And then Onigashima was more in the line of like Aina's Lobby and stuff, where it's essentially like one giant building where a whole bunch of stuff is happening and it's like interfering. People are falling through the floor and landing in a different fight. Fights are happening in different rooms and busting down walls and getting involved with each other. And it was good, but I don't think it was as good as Elbaf because it just, as I said, it became so ambitious. There was so many things happening at once, and there was so many necessary diagrams and stuff to make sure you understood, and so many things of, okay, well, we're gonna try to go up like one floor, and that's like a whole big thing, and then they just went up like one floor. It was really similar to Aina's Lobby, but just stretched out so much that it lost some of that immediacy and that impact of like Chopper climbing up the wall of the building and all of the different other characters seeing Chopper go up in sequence. Here, I think they're striking a good, happy balance where the country is huge and there's like a few different epicenters of activity. But just this little moment where Jinbei puts out the fire and Chopper and Robin and Saul are on like the other side of the fire. Like they're kind of coming together and converging in a way that feels very natural and very understandable. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot to praise. Great arc. Great arc. Excited for the next one. I'm really excited about the flashback now. As I said, there's always like an X factor in the flashbacks where you have your little checklist of the things that it's going to show. And for this one, I'm sure we all expect the true story of Loki and Harold, and the more of the history with Loki and Hadruden, and you know, the true story of Loki's rampage and his lockup. And that's already like enough, but you know now that there's going to be like Roxy Zebek might be involved, and there might be some other mysterious X factor with Elbaf too. In the same way that the Odin flashback suddenly just had Raftel. Something like that might happen. Raftel. Laugh-tail. I always forget. It's my boomer mentality. Okay, let's see. See you next time. Bye-bye.